Welcome back, everybody. Today, I wanted to give you a bit of an update for the new boss, or not old, not really new boss, but the current boss for the Dream Realm boss known as Necro Dragon, as well as some updated news that we've just been told about or that we've discovered about a new season-esque new piece of content that, again, the game is introducing, and what you need to get into it, the rewards of it, all that and more. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, when it comes to the Necro Dragon, after doing this boss for now, about a week, maybe 2 weeks at this point, there are a couple things that I've discovered kind of functionally change the way that you do Necro Dragon. I'm just going to call him the Necro Dragon. In any case, the way that a lot of compositions currently work is that, of course, you're going to have a primary frontline tanker, whether that's a Thorin or a character like Antandra, Tamesia, if you're feeling really ballsy, or if it's going to be any of these Mauler, Wilder-esque compositions. But with the way that certain Necro or with certain Dream Realm bosses work, the distinction between whether or not you change certain characters is, of course, if you have characters like Raynor at certain levels, or if you have a need to survive for longer. Now, mind you, when I had originally thought about making an update to this video, things that I had been kind of considering is, well, what point or at what point does the Necro Dragon start to, or what point does the Dream Realm boss start to do enough damage that I need to start re-adding a character like Coco back in, or when can I take her away for maybe someone like Rowan or another DPS? And the honest truth is that although it is a little bit more convoluted for other bosses, if you just take a look at the way that the boss works and see how much damage they do, simply one run will actually show you about whether or not you need to keep a Coco in or not, simply through, again, reading through their skills. But it is a little bit annoying because there's so much text and, there's every single boss has 4 skills. But even if you take a look at the ultimate for the Necro Dragon, his ultimate is that there is a puddle that decreases, or it increases the target's attack speed and also increases the damage that they take up to 3 times, and it can't be dispelled. Now, obviously, you don't want to get hit by this because you don't want to take increased damage, but that, I guess that basically means that if you aren't able to kill the boss within the first, let's say 40-45 seconds, and you are kind of dealing with the Necro Dragon or the Necro Dragon at the point where you hit the 65-second mark, that means that you are kind of hitting his enrage timer, and he's going to do insane amounts of damage. And although my Necro Dragon is level 170, depending on what level yours is, how long you can survive or what you can survive will, of course, differ. However, for my boss specifically, mine is 170, and I'll kind of just play out the run to show you exactly what happens, but I do need every aspect or every single character that you're seeing currently on screen in order for me to survive. Thorin initially, of course, is going to do a little bit of damage, but is also a very good tank. However, through the help of Coco and through things like Mr. Carlisle and, the smoky imprints and the way that my characters are built right now, my characters specifically will not die. And of course, the composition that I'm running right now is my main account, not my free-to-play account. I figured it might be a little bit more helpful this time if I show you what a initial kind of run goes or kind of appears to be. But as you can see here, through a combination of unlucky critting and also just the fact that it has been about 40 seconds and, the stacking damage started to add up, my team was actually only able to survive at about 18 million. Originally, when I had run this composition, I'd spread them out a little bit, and my score is, of course, getting lower and lower and lower by the minute because there are people that are now running things like Mythic Raynor, or they have Supreme Plus of all these other characters. But long story short, the way that I ended up doing this was doing some form of combination of praying, because that's just how the game works since you can't really avoid crit RNG, but it's me praying and trying to mix up and move my characters a little bit around, just so that I don't end up getting one shot. I've tried moving my Cecia over. I've tried staying the course and having my Cecia together. Whether or not the positioning affects things or not is kind of neither here nor there. It can work, and I've definitely received something like a 19 or 20 mil by splitting them away a little bit. But ultimately, my first initial run was all of them clumped together, and it was simply because I didn't get crit from the boss that I wasn't, in danger in terms of failing the run. And so, in terms of characters that you want to be using specifically for Necro Dragon, if you are now out of the earlier stages of the game, if you have, of course, higher imprints, by all means, feel free to use those. However, the kind of general format of certain compositions will always stay the same. having typically at least two major DPSs is kind of a given when it comes to doing something like Dream Realm, because you need a lot of damage. You're trying to reach a high score on the damage leaderboard, but also in most cases, you are going to need a healer or a tank. In this case, I'm going to specifically be using my Thorn and my Smokey, but like I mentioned before, if this needs to be someone like Antandra, or it ends up being someone like Brutus, whatever the character is, although I think Brutus is a little suspect because he's normally supposed to be for cheesing stages. Whatever tank or frontline that you're able to use, whether that's Antandra, Lucius, Grandma Donnie, any of these characters, that's totally fine. But just keep in mind that the 5th pick, in my opinion, is usually what ends up making the biggest difference. Now, whether it is me deciding to use someone like a Coco, or me needing to use someone like a Raynor or a Rowan, that kind of depends on the fight and each fight specifically. I found that even when I decided to use Raynor in this case, and again, my Raynor is not perfect. I got him a little bit, I've got a bit of oomph to him right now. I'm going to move him around actually like this, just so that we can kind of drag him forward a little bit. But even with Odie being dragged straight to the front and having the buff with Raynor, the actual impact of my Raynor is not quite there since he's not at Mythic Plus. He doesn't have the insane increased damage boost. But as you can see here, right now, I'm already at that 19 million damage mark. However, whether or not I actually end up surviving will kind of depend on whether or not I get crit here, or if, my Odie even ends up surviving. But I just wanted to give you a couple different ways to kind of make this character work, or kind of make different compositions work. As you can see, even though I had a really good start in terms of, early damage, my Odie ended up not even surviving anyways. But as compared to my direct, prior run, I did end up doing about comparable damage. But this is, again, not with a proper Mythic Plus specific Raynor, because he doesn't have, again, his exclusive equipment. But again, just keep in mind that when you're trying to do the Necro Dragon, you're kind of looking specifically for a lot of damage with characters that ideally don't die. So in terms of overarching themes, you need to be picking characters that cannot die, especially if, even if they are really, really good, or if they're S soul level characters, if they don't have enough HP, if they don't have enough damage to compensate or to make up for the fact that you're using them, you cannot use them. I cannot stress enough, not having imprints or not having enough base stats to survive just means that they're useless. Unfortunately, that's just the way that the game works. But the other reason that I'm making this video today is to talk about the new announcement that they kind of teased, I believe, with the developer notes, but that they also talked through this Talk with the Designers link. I'm going to open it up right now. Uno momento, por favor. Sorry, I am now opening it up. Okay, so here's what was kind of announced with, or kind of this developer update that was talked about when it comes to the future of AFK Journey. So if you haven't noticed as well, if you take a look at your friends list, you'll see that they already made it so now that there's more cross-server social features, which is really nice because, of course, a lot of you guys probably ended up on one server and didn't realize and were starting to play, and you didn't end up going alongside your friends. And so being able to, at least at the very minimum, help them or aid them in certain combat is super nice. Very, very, I guess, social, for lack of a better word. But also there's a new kind of season that's being added. It's kind of similar to a side story. But again, it is a new kind of activity that you will have access to. But if I'm not mistaken, you have to at least be Resonance level 240 and clear the main stage. But that is for a future-ish kind of or endgame-ish kind of player. Again, since specifically you do need a higher resonance level to gain access to this. Whether that's actually the case, though, right now, it kind of looks like they're designed to be endgame content, which is nice because I think a lot of people have complained that are fearful of not having enough to do in the endgame. However, I would actually kind of argue that powder and the limitation of how much you can do and getting to the mid to early late game stage is also kind of an issue that I hope they adjust or kind of address. But they're also adding, again, a couple of new story things, especially with the lore, the Tale of Asperia. Again, a new location, storyline, exploration, and lavish rewards. And then again, this is kind of describing the season or like what things are going, specifically how the seasons are going to work. And again, the idea behind it is that it's still going to give you progression. You want to have a simplistic kind of, I guess, upgrading or gameplay experience when it comes to the new season activity, which is nice because that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to this. You don't really fixate too hard on rolling for gear substats or things of that nature when it comes to AFK Journey. So I'm really happy with the fact that they stayed on brand. And finally, there's a couple different things, again, that they've been doing, like updating, or I guess they've kind of tried to reassure someone or reassure people that the future gameplay additions that they're going to have, whether it's just for the seasons or things in the future, will be, I guess, fresher. To be honest with you, a lot of the things that they announced here seem kind of like just open promises, like, hey, we'll be doing things that you'll hopefully like, which of course is nice, so that at least they're giving us like a line of dialogue. But whether it's, again, the promise of new content, what of course you guys all really want to see is the rewards. So if we dial back real quick and we go straight into the game real quick, I want to show off this, which is, again, they're kind of preview for a Song of Strife. So again, there are a couple things that they're going to be announcing. Again, number one, that the Song of Strife season, the Song of Strife, man, try saying that 4 times fast, is starting in May 2024. It lasts for 4 months, and you have to be, again, level 240 or Resonance level 240 while also completing all the main quests. And again, you gain like a number of rewards, of course, otherwise why would you do it? But ultimately, as far as I can tell, the season will end after 4 months, but they've already kind of shown us a few preview rewards for things that you gain. Again, they give you like these free rewards, so make sure to get them. But you have the rate up letter, the invite letter, the epic invite letter. It's just a couple of, it's just something new to do at the end of the game, which again is a big complaint that I think a lot of people, or a big concern. I don't know why I keep saying complaint. I think a lot of the complaints right now are specifically geared towards powder, but a lot of the concerns for the longevity of the game really come towards what is the end game? What will I do once I've run out of things to do in the early game? And I think this is a terrific way, or a terrific announcement addition to the game that they've, of course, kind of announced early on. Again, they said also here unlocks in early 5/2024, which is, of course, 5 meaning May. But I'm really excited for this. I hope you guys learned something through, again, the Necro Dragon guide that I had. And again, this is something that I just wanted to talk about because it was in our mail. Very cool, very exciting. Thank you so much for watching, though, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you again for sponsoring the AFK Journey. Thanks again to all you guys that have been loving the content, have been leaving your feedback. If you guys want to see me cover something else or something related to AFK Journey, feel free to leave a comment section down below. Also, of course, make sure to like, comment, turn the notification bell, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Good night. Have a good one. Adios.